The skies over Earth were calm, quiet. Children played in parks. Adults worked in offices or drank coffee in busy cafes. It was just another normal day, till every screen, every satellite, every device suddenly stopped. The power didn't go out. Instead, all signals were taken by one single message. The people of Earth looked up, confused. Then, a giant alien face appeared on every screen. Skin was dark blue, its eyes pure white, cold, empty. This was not a friendly face. The creature spoke in a deep voice, slow, clear. The words were not in English, yet everyone understood. The message came through every brain, every heart, as if it was whispered directly into their minds. Humanity will kneel, the alien said. The council has decided. You will join or be erased. Choose. There was silence across the planet. Cars stopped moving. People stared at screens, mouths open. Governments froze. For the first time in history, the whole world heard the same thing at the same moment. A threat, a warning, a challenge. But what came next was stranger than the message itself. Earth did not scream. Earth did not panic. Earth smiled. In an underground bunker, deep below the Rocky Mountains, Earth's leaders met. The President of the North American Union, the Commander of the Eastern Defense Coalition, and the head of the Global Alliance were all present. A hologram floated in the center of the room. It showed the alien that had just spoken to the world. His name was Velacrune, Emperor of the Xeric Dominion, leader of the most powerful force in the galaxy. His empire had crushed 300 worlds. He had made dozens of species kneel. They always obeyed. He expected humans to do the same. But Earth was different. A general stood in the center of the room. His uniform was old, faded. He had silver hair, sharp eyes, and a scar across his face. His name was General Miles Cade. He had fought in the last great war on Earth decades ago. He was old. But when he smiled, it was the same smile he had worn on the battlefield, the smile of someone who knew something the enemy didn't. They don't understand us, he said calmly. They think we're weak because we're quiet, because we're slow to react. But they don't know what happens when we decide to stand. The leaders looked at him. Do we fight back? One asked. General Cade shook his head. Not yet, he said. Let them believe we are afraid. Let them come closer. Then we show them what humanity really is. And so Earth sent one message back to the galaxy. It was short. No weapons, no threats. No speeches, just a video file. The video showed General Cade sitting in a chair wearing his old uniform. He looked directly into the camera. He didn't say a word. He didn't blink. He just smiled. Then the video ended. The message reached the Galactic Council 2 days later. At first, they thought it was a mistake. No reply, no surrender, no anger, just a smile. The council chamber fell into silence. Emperor Velacrune watched the video again and again. His advisors whispered to each other. One of them, a small creature from the Yellic race, trembled. I've seen that look before, it said. A smile like that means something is hidden, something dangerous. But Velacrune was not a creature of fear. He had destroyed empires, burned planets. He slammed his hand on the table and shouted, Enough! Send the first fleet. Burn their skies. Wipe that smile off their faces. Across the stars, over 200 Xerok warships prepared for war. They were fast, strong, armed with weapons that could melt a city in seconds. No race had ever survived a direct attack. The fleet moved toward Earth like a wave of fire, confident, proud, ready to crush the humans. But Earth remained silent. On the planet below, life continued. People returned to work. Children went back to school. No armies marched. No missiles were launched. It was as if Earth didn't care, or maybe Earth knew something the aliens didn't. Somewhere in the dark side of the moon, a black structure lit up. It was not on any map. No satellite had ever captured it. It had no name, no lights, no crew, but it was awake now. And far beneath the oceans, deep in the crushing dark, something ancient stirred. It had been sleeping for a long time, guarded, watched, not a machine, not a monster, something else. Something human. As the Xeric fleet reached the edge of Earth's solar system, the admiral in command smiled with confidence. "This will be easy," he said. "By this time tomorrow, they will kneel." But far behind him, drifting through space, one tiny probe sent a final image to Earth. It showed the fleet approaching, showed the weapons. It showed the pride in their eyes. And then, for just a second, the image glitched. Something dark passed in front of the camera, a shape with no name, no signal, no heat, just a shadow. Back on Earth, General Cade received the image. He watched it once, then he smiled again. This time it was colder, deeper, a smile not of joy but of promise. He turned to his assistant and said quietly, "They're coming. Let them." The screen went black. The Xerox fleet entered the solar system with full power. 212 warships flew in formation, their engines glowing red, their weapons armed. Each ship was the size of a city. Their mission was clear reach. Earth, destroy all resistance and force humanity to kneel. Expected chaos, screams, emergency signals. Instead, they were met with silence. The first thing the Xeric noticed was strange. As they passed Mars, Earth's satellites began to vanish. Not explode, not crash, just disappear, blip, one after another. The communication systems of the Xerac fleet started to report small errors, data loss, radar flickers. It didn't seem like much at first. Few officers laughed. "These humans have weak tech," they said. "Their systems can't even track us." But the errors grew. Soon, ships began losing contact with each other. Not all at once, but slowly. Ship 43 stopped responding. Then Ship 88. Then 12. Still. The fleet kept moving. Earth was now fully in view. A beautiful blue and green ball, spinning slowly in the black of space. Admiral Terran stood on the bridge of the lead warship, the Xerac's fist. He looked out at the planet and smiled. "Prepare the message," he ordered. "Let's give them one last chance to beg." His officers worked quickly. Within seconds, the fleet sent a second message to Earth. It said, "This is your final warning. Kneel or die." The reply came. Just as fast, a short video. Again, it showed the same human general from before, still sitting, still smiling. Words. Just that same calm, strange smile. Terran's smile faded. "Mocking us," he growled. "So be it." He raised his hand to give the attack order, but the lights on the bridge flickered. A quiet sound rang through the ship, a low hum. Not from their systems. From something outside, the ship's sensors went black. What was that? Someone shouted, "We lost visuals. Comms are down." Then came a scream from one of the nearby ships. On the main screen, the Xerox Aha destroyer-class vessels spun out of control. It began to tilt, then break apart. No explosion. No fire. It simply folded in half like paper and vanished from sight. Panic spread through the fleet. Enemy ships. Someone yelled, but there were none. Not a single human craft had appeared. No missiles, no guns, just the slow, silent fall of Xerox warships. Terran stared at the screen, trying to understand. "Check for cloaked vessels. Scan again." "Nothing, Admiral," his officer shouted. "There's no heat, no signals, no gravity waves. The ships are disappearing. Over the next 10 minutes, 5 more ships vanished. One by one, they were there, and then they were not." Officers screamed. Orders were shouted. Shields were raised, but nothing helped. Then, one ship, Ship 37, managed to send a message just before disappearing. The signal was weak, full of static, but one word came through, clear and cold. "Music. Music." Terran blinked. What did he say? His officer replayed the message. Again, the same word. Music. Confused, they checked external audio sensors. At first, nothing. Then, something soft. A distant sound. Slow. Calm. It was an old Earth song. A piano. Gentle notes. It played from somewhere outside the ship. No source, no direction. Was there? Floating through space, someone whispered, "Why are they playing music?" No one answered. More ships vanished. 30 now. 40. The fleet was breaking apart. Ships tried to retreat, but their engines failed. Some tried to fire at Earth, but their weapons didn't respond. It wasn't war. It was like the planet didn't care. A few brave captains launched fighters into space. Small ships flew forward to scan for invisible enemies. None returned, not even wreckage. And then the voice came, not from a human, not from a speaker. It came into every Xeric mind, like a whisper in their own thoughts. You wanted us to kneel. You wanted fear. But you never asked. What happens when we stop fearing you? The bridge grew cold, not in temperature, but in feeling. Like the room itself didn't want them there anymore. TAA are on shook with rage. We are the Xeroc Dominion. We bow to no one. And then he saw it, on the edge of the screen, barely visible. A shape in the clouds over Earth, a triangle, darker than night. No lights, no markings, just a shadow floating above the planet. It wasn't there before, and now it was watching them. Terran's voice cracked. "What is that?" Nobody answered. The last message from the fleet came from Ship 91, one final sentence before the fleet. "Lost all contact with the galaxy. There's something here, something that sees us, and it's not afraid." Then silence. Back on Earth, in a quiet control room. General Cade watched the live feed disappear. He turned off the screen, stood up, and walked to the window. The sun was rising. Birds flew across the sky. He smiled again. Still no words. The galaxy was silent for a few hours after the Xeroc fleet vanished. The council waited for news, for a victory report, for anything, but nothing came. 212 ships had entered the Sol system. None came back. No signals. No survivors. No debris. Just silence. Inside the council chamber, fear began to grow. They tried to contact the Xeric fleet, but no answers returned. A second message was sent to Earth. Still Earth said nothing. No reply. No threats. Not even a warning. Just ... nothing. Emperor Velacrune stood at the center of the chamber. Golden armor gleamed under the lights. He was angry, but more than that, he was confused. "What trick are they playing?" he growled. "Do they have a weapon we don't understand?" The other council members looked at each other. Many of them had once seen Earth as weak, primitive, a planet of emotion and chaos. But now, something had changed. They didn't understand how Earth had destroyed the fleet, without fighting. One species, the Firene, known for their technology, offered a solution. "Let us send a probe," their ambassador said. "A small drone, invisible, quiet. It will watch Earth. Tell us the truth." The council agreed. A day later, the stealth probe entered Earth's orbit. It was hidden behind a cloaking shield, silent and hard to detect, the galaxy's best spy machine. It began to send images. At first, everything seemed normal. Cities, lit up at night, roads full of cars, people walking, laughing, living, no sign of panic, no sign of war. But then the feed glitched. The image flickered once, then twice. And finally, the camera showed something strange floating in the upper atmosphere of Earth. Half hidden in the clouds was a massive shape, a triangle. Black. Still, the probe focused on it. No lights, no engines, no energy readings yet. It was clearly there, just hanging in the sky like a shadow. Then, the temperature sensor on the drone dropped to 0. Not 0 degrees, 0 reading, as if the air around the object didn't exist. The drone's AI tried to zoom in, but as it did, the signal began to fade. Just before the feed cut off, one last frame appeared. A single image, a close-up of the black triangle. It had no symbols, no windows, except for one small detail. A human face. Not real, not flesh. Just a glowing, smiling face, carved into the hole. Back in the council chamber, the image was shown to everyone. A wave of fear spread. One of the leaders, an old creature from the Shira species, stood up and shouted, "That's not a weapon. That's a message. That smile. It's for us." Emperor Velik slammed his fist on the table. "Send the second fleet. Larger, stronger. Earth must be punished." Within hours, the second fleet launched. Over 400 warships, twice as many as before. This time, they would not fail. They brought gravity bombs, star splitters, and city burners. As they approached Earth, the fleet flew in silence. No one joked. No one smiled. The crew remembered what happened to the first fleet. They were ready for anything, or so they thought. When they reached Earth, they saw no defense, no fighters, no satellites, just clouds. And that same black triangle in the sky, still unmoving. Still watching, the admiral of the Second Fleet, High Commander Relnox, gave the order to scan the object. Find out what it is. If it moves, destroy it. But the scans failed. No heat, no movement, no metal, as if it wasn't real at all. Then, one of the youngest officers, a quiet female from the Janari race, said something softly. "It's not outside. It's in their minds." The others stared at her. "What do you mean?" She looked pale. "I don't know, but I can feel it, watching us. Not with eyes, with memory." Suddenly, the ships began to shake. Not from impact. Not from weapons. From inside. Screens flickered. Lights dimmed. Crew members screamed. They were seeing things, their own fears, old battles, dead friends, lost family. Every soldier saw their worst memories, playing in front of them, but there were no enemies. No attacks. Just a force scene, unknown, pulling apart their minds. Commander Relnox gritted his teeth. Fight it. Fire on the target. Missiles launched, energy blasts flew, but they passed right through the triangle. It didn't move. It didn't react. It didn't have to dot in the middle of the storm. One ship managed to send a final message before vanishing into the clouds. Just 2 words. It learns. Back on Earth, General Cade stood on a hill watching the sky. The wind blew through his coat. He had no weapons in his hands. It's only a small device playing quiet music, a human song, soft piano. A voice behind him asked, "Sir, should we respond to the council?" Cade shook his head. "No, not yet. Let them wonder. Let them fear. The smile they don't understand." He looked up at the clouds, where the black triangle watched the stars, silent and still, and somewhere far above the planet. The second fleet began to disappear, just like the first. The second fleet was gone. 408 warships. Wiped from the sky without a fight. No wreckage, no escape pods, no distress signals. Just silence. The kind of silence that made the entire galaxy stop and listen. The council didn't speak for days. The Zarek Dominion, once proud and loud, became quiet. Their emperor refused to face the media. Their generals locked themselves in meeting rooms. They were not just confused now, they were afraid. Other races began to whisper the humans had done the impossible, twice, without using weapons. Without firing a single shot, 2 fleets vanished, and Earth hadn't even broken a sweat. It had only smiled in a cold underground base beneath Antarctica. Earth's leaders met again. General Miles Cade stood at the head of the room. He looked tired but calm, the same calm he always wore. Around him were scientists, commanders, diplomats. We're trying to understand what was really happening. We still haven't replied to the council, one woman said. They've sent 10 messages in the last 2 days. They want peace talks. Now they're offering tribute. General Cade nodded slowly, because they're beginning to understand, not who we are, but what we've done. The others waited for him to explain. Cade walked to the center of the room, where a large table showed Earth's hidden projects. One folder was larger than the rest. It was marked only with 2 words, Project Smile. It was never about weapons, Cade said. We knew one day they'd come. We knew we couldn't match their technology. Not in space, not in ships. So instead of building bigger guns, We built something they couldn't understand. He opened the file. Inside were photos, diagrams, and reports. Some were decades old. Some were written by people long dead. Smile had started after humanity's first deep space signal was picked up by unknown ears. At the time, Earth was still recovering from its own wars. But some people, scientists, soldiers, philosophers, had looked at the stars and said, "What? If they come, and they're not friendly?" Cade tapped on an image, a dark black triangle floating above a desert. "This is the mirror," he said. "It doesn't shoot. It doesn't talk. It reflects. It shows invaders exactly what they bring: fear, hate, death, and when they look into it, they see themselves." "But how does it work?" someone asked. "We don't know everything," Cade admitted. "Only that it was made using old AI systems, deep psychology, and something even older: the human mind. It studies intruders, doesn't fight them. It teaches them what it feels like to be us," another scientist added. "The more they try to control us, the more it shows them what control looks like from the other side. They become the hunted. They feel helpless, just like they wanted us to feel. That's why the Xeric ships vanished. They weren't destroyed. They were broken. Mentally, spiritually, their systems failed because their crews failed. Not because of an enemy, but because of themselves. Outside the base, the skies were still calm. Earth hadn't gone to war. People were still living there. Lives. Most humans didn't even know what had happened above their heads. The world had changed, but no one had told them. In the council chamber far across the stars, the panic was growing. Valekrin had lost control. Some of his generals quit. Some ran. Other species in the council began sending secret messages to Earth. Messages of peace. Messages of curiosity. Messages of fear. One message arrived at Earth's base that evening. It came from a small race called the Quor. They had been slaves to the Xerok for over 100 years. Their message was short. "We saw the smile, felt the silence, and for the first time, we believe Earth is free." Back in Antarctica, General Cade stood alone, watching the frozen winds move outside the thick glass window. His assistant approached quietly. "Sir," she said, "they want to know if we're going to respond to the council now." Cade thought for a long time. Then he shook his head. "No, not yet." "Why not?" He turned and looked her in the eyes. "'Cause they still think we're playing a game. They think we have a super weapon, but they don't realize. The weapon was never a machine. It was time, patience, silence, and the fact that we never asked to be left alone. We just waited." Somewhere beneath them, the mirror, the black triangle hovered in silence. Deep under layers of ice and rock, waiting, listening, learning, in the sky, stars continued to shine. Other empires now watched Earth, not with hunger, but with caution. They didn't understand how the humans had survived, but they knew one thing: this was no longer the same planet they once ignored. Earth had smiled, and the galaxy would never forget it. Across the galaxy, something had changed. The stars still burned, ships still flew, and planets still turned, but silence had replaced pride. Where once the council barked orders and made threats, now they whispered and waited. The two great Xerok fleets had vanished without a fight. The mysterious black triangle still floated above Earth, unmoving in the humans. They said nothing, not one word. It's just that strange, calm smile. The council met in emergency session. The hall, once filled with loud voices and strong commands, now echoed with fear. Some leaders wanted to send a third fleet. Some wanted to beg. Others, especially the smaller species, wanted something new. They wanted Earth as an ally. The Emperor of Xerok Valakroon looked tired. The proud fire in his eyes had dimmed. His empire had never lost a war until now, and it lost not by guns or bombs, but by silence. "Why won't they speak?" he asked, his voice hollow. "We offered peace. We offered power. They sent back nothing." "They don't need to speak," said a voice from the corner. It was a new ambassador from a planet far on the edge of known space, because they already won. Back on Earth, General Miles Cade stood once again on the hill outside the base. The snow fell slowly around him. The sky above was cloudy, but he could still see it. The black triangle, high in the atmosphere, was still there. It hadn't moved. It didn't need to. It had done its job. Twice, his assistant walked up beside him. "Sir," she said, "you should see this." He followed her into the base. On the main screen were dozens of messages. Not from the Xerox, not from the Council, but from other species. Free worlds, broken worlds, forgotten worlds. They were sending messages of respect, of thanks, and of something Cade hadn't expected. Hope. One message stood out. It came from the Varn, a peaceful race that had never dared speak against the Council. Their leader, old and wise, spoke softly in the recording. "When your smile appeared, we thought it was a mistake. Then we watched and we understood. You did not attack. You did not scream. Simply showed us what happens when fear tries. To control silence, did not answer violence with more violence. You answered it with something deeper, something that breaks empires." Cade didn't speak. He just watched. Outside Earth's orbit, in the deep void of space, something began to stir, not an army, not a weapon, but the truth. The truth about humans was spreading. It's not as a rumor, but as a warning. Species that once feared the Council now looked to Earth. Not because humans were the strongest, not because they had the best technology, but because Earth had done what no one else dared. It had refused to kneel in one of the Council's hidden chambers. A meeting took place without cameras or records. Some members believed it was time to destroy the mirror, find it, crush it. Wipe them out before it's too late, they said. But one of the oldest members, a being made of living gas, shook its head slowly. "You still don't get it." It whispered, "The mirror is not a machine, it is them, is what they become when pushed too far. You can't destroy it because you don't understand it." The room went quiet, and in that moment a final message arrived from Earth. It was short. 5 words, spoken in every galactic language at once. No threats, no demands. "Next time, don't wake us." The words were followed by a single image. General Cade's face, calm, focused, and yes, smiling, in the hours that followed. Several Council species cut ties with the Xerox Dominion. Trade stopped, borders closed, alliances broke. The fear that once gave the Xerox power was now working against them. That same fear now belonged to Earth. Ships from across the galaxy began moving, not to attack, but to visit. Carefully, slowly, some carried messages of peace. Others just came to look, to understand. In time, a new name spread. Across the stars. Not a military code, not a title of fear, just a story. A story about the planet that didn't fight, but won anyway. A story about the species that smiled in the face of destruction and survived. In Earth returned to normal. Went back to work. Children played. Cities glowed in the night. Most had no idea that their little blue planet had changed the course of history, but high above, the mirror still floated, watching silent, ready. And when someone asked General Cade if it would ever leave, he gave a simple answer. "No," he said. "It's not watching for enemies. It's watching for a question. The same question the galaxy asked us before." He looked up, smiled once more, and whispered, "Will you kneel?" And now the stars knew the answer.